Hello! So in this video we are going to take a look at one of my favorite design um, strategies, which is layering elements on web. I love to create layered pieces. I think it adds a lot of depth, it allows you to use a little more color, um, and just really gives it a more natural feel versus kind of the traditional grid that you see on most websites. So doing things like adding a letter or adding text over an image and then kind of breaking a traditional grid pattern is something that I use a lot in my design practices. So we're going to look at how to do this without any coding at all. So we're going to be using Photoshop. Now I'm going to go ahead and delete this one and we'll make a fresh one. If you're using Canva, that's totally fine as well. Don't freak out. You can do it in either one, really. But basically what we're going to do to start is kind of create a faux bottom of the page so that it'll look like the image is crossing from one page border to the next. In reality, we're going to do this with no code, so it'll all be on the same page. So I'm just going to select roughly half of my page and then choose a color, obviously to match your branding, and just paint bucket that in. Now this is the simple way to do it. Of course we can add to this. So for example, if you wanted to just create a little line beneath it, or even one that overlaps, like right here, just add your new layer, and then add, for example, let's do gray. Add your next block or whatnot. So let's take a look at this. We'll use this as our first one. So we're going to say File, Export, Quick Export as PNG. And the reason that we're going to use a PNG is because it allows us to have a transparent background. And so if the background on your site is not pure white, then you would want to change the background color if you're using Canva to make sure it matches the site. If it doesn't, it's going to be obvious that it's not actually the bottom of the page that you're seeing, but that it's just the banner. So I'm just going to go to a little test page that I have. And on Pages, I'm in the, I believe, Rally template. It's in the Brain family, so I have the ability to add intro images onto the pages. A lot of the other templates also have this. They'll call them banner images. So I'm going to drop in what I just made here to my banner section and click Save. So what you'll see is that this added what appears to be a little banner section here. Now in my intro, I can click Edit, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a spacer, and I'm going to add an image next to the spacer. So let's see, we'll just drop this image in. So now I'm going to drop the spacer to the right or to the left, it really doesn't matter, of my image and scale that image down. And this is a stock image from Stocksy that I was playing with for potentially for a client. So I'm going to decide, this is just kind of my personal taste, to put a spacer on each side so that there's a little more room. And then I'm actually going to kind of crop this up a little so it's not quite as long. So now you can see on the site I have a few layers of things happening. So I have the gray box, I have the kind of lilac-y shade in the background, and then I have this. So this is kind of the first step to layering without code. And you'll see that if you're looking at this, it looks as though this might be the end of a page. If you don't have parallax enabled, then it won't scroll on top of this, but it'll all scroll as one single unit. Now, of course, back in Photoshop, you could do without that gray one, and you could instead add another image. So we'll just try the flowers. It might take a few minutes. Okay, well, let's use a different image. We'll use this one. So I'm going to drag this image on. And now that I know roughly where that first image sits, I can move this one around accordingly. So I'm holding down Shift just to size this without distorting it. And I think I'll put this one here. So now I have the background and I have this. And I'm going to again File, Export, PNG. Hopping back over to Squarespace, I'm going to replace the banner with the one I just made. With the background as well as the image. Click Save. So now you see that I actually have a much more layered effect with this image and then this image on top. If it were important that I could see both images, what I can easily do here is I can move around those spacers that I created in the beginning. So push this one this way, push this one this way, and then if I really wanted to be fun, I could even go back in and use some of the more advanced Squarespace blocks. So I could use the collage or the overlap. So let's take a look at the overlap in this case. Now the thing I don't love about this is it's two vertical images and it's beginning to feel really long. So I can edit in Squarespace. By selecting Edit and then Crop. And I'm just going to take this one down to a square whenever it decides to load. My internet has been super slow lately, so hopefully this won't give us too much trouble. Let's try again. Okay, obviously just hates me right now, so that's fine. So we can do a header here, and then body copy might go here, right? Something like this. And then click Save. So now you can see that we have a semi-layered effect with images, and we haven't used any code at all. So this really opens up a lot for Squarespace in terms of what's possible. So I might even in this case take this guy out. Let's see if they overlap. See, I don't like that they don't overlap, so I'm going to pull this guy a little further this way. Perfect. Cool. Now the other thing to note for using banner images is that you want to, or you can rather, switch up the focal point. So this little guy here is the focal point. So let's say that I wanted this image more towards the center to make sure it doesn't get cut off. Then I can move this here, and let's say I don't love the way it's overlapping there, so I could pull this up some, click Save, and it'll reposition it so that it's a little bit further down and a little bit closer to center. Ta-da! So this was a super simple way to layer graphics in Squarespace without actually using any code at all. So I hope this is helpful for you building your own sites, and I'd love to see what you come up with.